sci-fi game that's a little more recent compared to the 40-year-old games I often do. It's more like 10, 11 years old. It's Eclipse. Full title is Eclipse: New Dawn for the Galaxy. It's a 4X game. Expand, exploit, exterminate, explore, I believe are the four. And as always, I appreciate subscriptions and comments too. I mean, I have quite a variety of games. I'm always looking to expand the course. So if you got ideas of ones you'd like me to check out, I'd appreciate that. Here's the credits: game design, Tuco Takakalio; development, graphic design, and rulebook, Sampa Sikoyo; gamebox cover and species illustrations, Alci Haikola; publisher, Lautapelit.fi from 2011. Acknowledgements and playtesters. And uses rules and hex use elements created by ESA Hubble. It's interesting. And released to their kind permission, so it's tied into actual space images. Comes in a big box that's heavy with all the components. It's 11 by 16 by about 3.5. It's well presented, and actually one thing I like about just going in is it I always kind of like the older art, and it's an interesting, it's a pleasing combination of kind of modern graphics, but then also kind of older school stuff. Like for instance, if you compare it to like a 1980s kind of game, you kind of get a similar kind of flavor. So I actually kind of like that. Kind of ties into old school, which I appreciate. Gives you a sense of characters and a battle going on. On the back, talks about the components. Good visual. 2 to 6 players, 14 plus, 30 minutes per player. So we'll see if that works out. That could be optimistic, but we'll see. Good overview. New Dawn for the Galaxy. The galaxy has been a peaceful place for many years. After the ruthless war, much effort has been employed by all major spacefaring species to prevent the terrifying events from repeating themselves. The Galactic Council was formed to enforce precious peace and has taken many courageous efforts to prevent the escalation of malicious acts. Nevertheless, tension and discord are growing among the 7 major species and in the Council itself. Old alliances are shattering, and hasty diplomatic treaties are made in secrecy. The confrontation of the superpowers seems inevitable. Which faction will emerge victorious and lead the galaxy under its rule? So as Eclipse, places you in control of a vast interstellar civilization, competing for success with its rivals. You explore new star systems, research technology, build spaceships to wage war with. Many paths to victory. The shadow of the great civilizations are about to eclipse the galaxy. Lead your people to victory. Here's all the components included. As you can see, quite a variety and quantity of items included. 32-page rulebook, a lot of good examples in it. Yellow, orange, and red dice. 8 yellow, 6 orange, 4 red. There's 6 different colors to represent the 6 different players. And the ships for one player are shown here. Got two dreadnoughts, 4 cruisers, and 8 interceptors. And then for each of the 6 player colors, you have, shown here for yellow for instance, 4 star bases, 16 influence discs, 33 population cubes, and 3 ambassador tiles. There's 6 each of the 3 different types of storage markers. Then there's these purple damage markers, a round marker, and a player start marker. And these are reputation tiles. There's 32 total of these, ranging from 1 to 4. And there's a couple of crowded hex tiles, orbital monolith tile, and it's got two sides to it. Colony ship tile, ancient ship tile, Galactic Center defense system tile, then a few blank tiles of some different shapes. 22 of the orbital monolith tiles, 21 colony ship tiles, 21 ancient ship tiles, and 1 Galactic Center defense system tile. And there's 21 of these discovery tiles, two-sided. One side has the markers, the two markers shown. The flip side, you get what it is. And I'll talk about what these mean in the rules, but there's a variety of them. There's 96 different technology tiles. Here's the 24 unique ones. Here's the definition of the technologies. Military technology, neutron bombs. Neutron bombs, you may destroy all population cubes from the hex without rolling a dice. Starbase, you may build star bases. Plasma cannon, you may upgrade plasma cannon ship parts. Phase shield, you may upgrade phase shield ship parts. Advanced mining, you may place population cubes in advanced material squares with your colony ships. Tachyon source, you may upgrade Tachyon source ship parts. Plasma missile, you may upgrade plasma missile ship parts. Glue-on computer, you may upgrade glue-on computer ship parts. Then grid technologies, Gauss shield, you may upgrade Gauss shield ship parts. Improved hull, you may upgrade improved hull. Fusion, you may upgrade fusion source. Positron computer, you may upgrade positron computer. Advanced economy, you may place population cubes in advanced money squares with your colony ships. Tachyon drive, you may upgrade Tachyon drive ship parts. Antimatter cannon, you may upgrade antimatter cannon. Quantum grid, you receive 2 additional influence disks placed immediately on your influence track. Those are grid technologies. And then nanotechnologies, nanorobots, you may build 1 additional ship or structure. Fusion drive, you may upgrade fusion drive. Master robotics, you receive 1 additional influence disk placed immediately on your influence track. Orbital, you may build orbitals. Advanced labs, you may place population cubes in advanced science squares with your colony ships. Monolith, you may build monoliths. Artifact key, you must take 5 resources of 1 type for each artifact on your hexes. Wormhole generator, you may explore, influence, and move through a hex site that has a wormhole on just 1 side. There's 154 ship part tiles. Here's the 17 unique ones. Antimatter cannon, electron computer, fusion drive, fusion source, Gauss shield, glue-on computer, hull, improved hull, ion cannon, nuclear drive, nuclear source, phase shield, plasma cannon, plasma missile, positron computer, Tachyon source, Tachyon drive. Then there's these nice thick cards. There's 6 as thick as the counters, which is nice. There's the trader card. And then there's 6 summary cards where you have the action phase on one side and discussions about, past, what happens in the phase and reactions. And there's one of these for each of the 6 players. And then there's these 4 information cards. This one's a scoring overview, kind of both sides there. Ship part overview, discovery overview, technology overview, more information on the back, reputation overview, and combat overview. Textiles are nice and thick. There's 44 total of them. On one side they have this indicator of 1, 2, or 3, which indicates inner systems, middle systems, or outer systems. And then the flip side of these, they have the details like shown. This is the Galactic Center tile, and here's another tile. And what's generally on the tiles is here's a wormhole, the influence circle, the victory point value, if there's an artifact. These are population squares. Population square money, Population square science. Population square advanced money. Population square advanced science. So population square materials, and that's the hex number. This is a supply board. There's one of these. So here's where you have ship part tiles. The round marker goes up here. The research track. Discovery tiles. Ancient ship tiles. Orbital and monolith tiles. Damage cubes that go in here. And then there's 6 of these player boards. On the flip side, they show, you can see like different, player, cultures and races. The different definitions of players, ships, and starbase up here. Then you have influence discs, population cubes, go in here. Set the storage markers off to the side here. This is for where the storage markers would be on this track. Technology track is down here. Reputation track. Then we'll go through the rules and see how all this fits together. Game concepts. Population cubes. Your civilization population is represented by small wooden population cubes. Your player's color. When your civilization expands to a new sector, it may be colonized by moving the population cubes on your player board to scores on a sector hex. The more cubes you move to the hexes, the more resources you produce. The leftmost visible square on each population track shows how many units you'll produce in each round. Resources. Your hexes produce 3 kinds of resources: money, science, and materials. Money is needed for using influence, controlling hexes, and taking action requires you pay money at the end of the round. Science, pink, is needed for research. Researching new technologies requires that you pay science. Brown, materials, are needed for building. Building new ships and structures requires that you pay materials. The amount of each resource you have is marked with a storage marker on the storage track. The storage size is unlimited. Influence discs. Your civilization's influence is represented by the wooden influence discs in your player color. Influence discs are used to mark the hexes your civilization controls. Also, taking an action requires you to move an influence disc on the corresponding action space. The leftmost visible circle on the influence track shows how much money you have to pay at the end of the round to keep your civilization functioning. Component limitations. There's a limited amount of ships, population cubes, influence discs, technology tiles, discovery tiles, reputation tiles, and ambassador tiles. If they run out, they run out. But ship part tiles, orbital monolith tiles, and damage cubes are unlimited. So if they run out, you can use a substitute for those. Technology. Researching technology gives your civilization advantages. Some technology is required for upgrading certain parts of your ships or building new ships and structures, while others make your civilization more efficient. The technologies are divided in 3 categories: military, grid, and nanotechnologies, as shown there. Researching a technology in a category gives you discount in further research of that category. Research technologies are placed on your player board. Ships are used for fighting against other players and the non-player agents, as well as occasional exploring. There are 4 kinds of ships. Interceptors. There's 8 available to each player. Cruisers, 4 available. Dreadnoughts, 2 available. And starbases, 4 available. Bigger ships cost more to build, but have more space for a ship part. Starbases are immobile. Ship parts. Each kind of ship has its own blueprint on your player board. Players can customize their ships during the game. The ship parts on the blueprint give the ship its abilities. There are several different types of parts. And here it shows the name of the ship, energy consumption, initiative, bonus, and records the technology.
Cannons are used on each combat round to attack enemy ships. Different cannons can make different amounts of damage. Each star is 1 point of damage. Missiles are like cannons, but used only at the beginning of the combat. Hull absorbs damage. Hull's ability to absorb damage is marked with stars. Each hull symbol absorbs 1 point of damage. Computers make weapons hit more easily and also give more initiative. Shields make your ship more difficult to hit. Drives make ships move further with one move and also give the ship more initiative. Energy sources produce energy for other ship parts. Some ship blueprints have extra ship parts outside the ship part grid. These work just like other ship parts except that they cannot be replaced. Structures are colossal objects built on your controlled hexes. Orbitals provide your population a place to live in. Each orbital can hold a single population cube. Monoliths give you points at the end of the game. Structures are permanent objects which stay on the hex until the end of the game. Discovery tiles. Some hexes contain a discovery tile which is awarded to you when you first take control of the hex by placing an influence disc there. Each discovery tile is double-sided. The face side has a benefit, extra resources, new technologies, etc. And the back side has a 2 victory point value. When receiving a tile, you must immediately decide which side you use. Discovery tile benefits are, so there's 3 of the +8 money, +5 science, and +6 materials. For these, you move your storage marker and discard the tile. And there's 3 of the ancient technology. You may take the cheapest technology tile you don't already have from the supply board and place it on your player board for free. Discard the discovery tile. And there's 3 of the ancient cruiser. Place 1 of your unused cruisers in the hex and discard the tile. 6 of the ancient ship part. You may place this part in any of your ships, returning existing part if needed. You may also keep the part next to your board and place it later with the upgrade action if you later want to replace an ancient ship part is discarded. Discovery tiles kept as victory points are placed next to your player board, back set up until the end of the game. Reputation tiles. You receive reputation tiles from combat. They're worth victory points at the end of the game, like for instance here shown. Ambassador tiles. You can use your ambassador to form diplomatic relations with other players. They increase your production and are worth victory points at the end of the game. Trade. At any time, you may convert 2 units of one resource, money, science, materials, to 1 unit of any other. Card hex tile. On the occasion you cannot fit all ship miniatures in a hex, you may place them somewhere else on the table and mark the hex with a crowd ship tile. Wormholes. Due to the galactic distances, starships and the Eclipse may move only using the wormhole network. Also, exploring the galaxy is possible only through a wormhole. Each hex represents a sector of star systems and may contain a number of colored population squares which represent star clusters with worlds producing resources. Each sector, inner, middle, and outer, has its own hex stack. In the beginning of the game, only the center hex and players' start sectors are placed on the table. The rest are placed during the game. The inner and middle sectors are laid out in concentric circles around the center hex. Outer sectors may branch freely outwards. Inner sectors are numbered 101 to 108, middle 201 to 211, outer 301 to 318, and starting sectors 221 to 232, and Galactic Center 001. Game round. The game round consists of these 4 phases. Action phase. Players take actions clockwise, 1 action at a time. Combat phase. Battles are resolved and sectors conquered. Upkeep phase. Civilization upkeep costs are paid and resources produced. Cleanup phase. Players move influence discs from the action spaces back to their influence track, and new technology tiles are drawn. Then within this, the action phase. Starting from the player with the staffing player marker, moving clockwise, each player may take 1 action or pass. This continues around until all players have passed. The first player to pass gets the starting player marker for the next round. When taking an action, move the rightmost influence disc from your influence track to your action track. You may choose an action you've already taken. The more actions you take, the more upkeep you have to pay at the end of the round, so remember to pass in time. possible actions are explore, influence, research, upgrade, build, or move. And then reaction, upgrade, build, or move. Players who have passed may not take any other actions than reactions, which are weaker versions of build, upgrade, move actions. When passing, flip your summary cards so that the dark game round overview sides face up. This will help other players see you've already passed. End of action phase. After every player's summary card has been flipped dark side up, the action phase ends immediately. No more reactions may be taken. Colony ships. At any time during your action, you may activate one or more of your face-up colony ships. For each activated colony ship, you may place one population cube to an empty population square in any hex where you have an influence disk. Each population cube you place must come from the population track that corresponds to the color of the population square in the hex. Activated colony ships are flipped face down. Using colony ships is the only way to move population cubes to the hexes and increase your production. Gray squares. The gray planets represent worlds that are suitable for any production. The gray population squares may receive a population cube from any of the 3 population tracks. If you remove a cube from a gray population square, you may place it to any population track. You don't have to remember which track it came from. Advanced squares. Planets with a star symbol represent harsher worlds that are difficult to colonize. You may only place cubes and squares marked with a star if you have researched the related advanced technology. Orbals. Orbals are artificial living environments that players may build. An orbital may only receive a population cube from the money or science track. Explore. Explore action lets your civilization explore the uncharted regions of the galaxy. Choose one of the unexplored spaces next to a hex where you have a ship or an influence disk, and turn a hex tile from the corresponding stack, 1, 2, or 3 in it. If you explore from a hex with only a ship, it must not be pinned, which is under the move description. Show the hex tile and choose to either place or discard it. If you discard the tile, your turn ends immediately. Discards are placed face up. If you decide to place the tile, the following restrictions apply. Text can be placed only to the spot that you explored. Text must be oriented so that at least one of the wormholes in the hex connects to a wormhole on one of the hexes where you have a disk or a ship. In the diagram on the left, hexes are marked with A or B, would be legal placements, shown here. Hexes marked with A and B would be legal placements in that diagram. Hexes in the inner and middle sectors are laid in circles around the central hex. Hexes in outer sectors may branch outwards. If the hex contains a discovery symbol, put a discovery tile on it face down. If the hex contains ancient symbols, put that many ancient ship tiles on it on top of the discovery tile. Then here the wormhole generator. If you have the wormhole generator technology, you may place the hex so that there's only half a wormhole connecting placed hex and the hex you explored from. Diagram above, A, B, C, and D would be legal, but E would not. And these are the discovery symbol, ancient symbol, discovery tile back, and ancient ship. If the hex contains ancient symbols, put that many ancient symbol ship tiles on it on top of the discovery tile. After placing the hex, you may take control of the hex by placing an influence disk from your influence track on the hex. If the hex contains a discovery tile, you may take it when placing the influence disk. All discovery tiles are double-sided. The tile back has a 2 VP value, and the face side has a bonus. Show the face side of the discovery and immediately decide which side to use. Tiles that are used as victory points are placed next to your player board. Side showing victory point value, face up. Important, ancient ships must be destroyed before the influence disk may be placed and discovery tile taken. If there are ships with several players competing for the same hex, the player who eventually gets to place the disk receives the tile. The center hex contains the Galactic Center Defense System, which must be destroyed, see combat phase, before an influence disk may be placed. After placing the influence disk, you may activate your colony ships to place the population cubes on the population scores of the hex. If the hexes in a stack run out, shuffle the discarded hexes. That stack is new stack. If there are no more hexes, the explore action has no use. Important to remember that you may use your colony ships at any time during your turn. Influence. Influence actions let your civilization conquer vacant hexes or withdraw from hexes. By selecting the influence action, you may move up to 2 influence discs. These moves may be from your influence track or from a hex where you have an influence disc, to a hex that does not contain an influence disc or an enemy ship and is adjacent to a hex where you have a disc or a ship, or to a hex where only you have a ship, or back to your influence track. The hex influenced has to have a wormhole connected to a disc where you have a disc or a ship. In the example on the right, you can influence hexes A, B, and G. And for the wormhole generator, if you have the wormhole generator, you may influence a hex edge that has a wormhole on just one side. After placing an influence disk, you may activate your colony ships to place population cubes on the population scores on the hex. During the influence action, you may turn 2 of your used colony ships face up, even if you choose to move no influence disks. Removing a disk from a hex. If you remove a influence disk from a hex, you must also return all cubes from the hex to their respective population tracks on your board. If a cube is returned from a gray wild square, you may choose which track it goes to. Similarly, if a cube is returned from an orbital, you may return it to either the money or science track. Important to remember that you may use your colony ships at any time during the turn. Diplomacy, diplomatic relations. Increase your production and grant victory points. Players can form diplomatic relations when their hexes connect. Diplomacy rules are not used in 2 and 3 player games. Diplomatic relations. From the hexes where you have an influence disk gets connected through a wormhole to a hex where another player has a disk. You and the other player may agree on forming diplomatic relations with each other. Diplomatic relations can be formed at any time on any of your turns. The connection may happen either by explore influence actions or at the end of the combat phase. There must be a full wormhole connection, so you cannot use a wormhole generator technology to connect through a half wormhole. You may not form diplomatic relations if your ship is in a hex with an opposing player's ship or influence disk, or vice versa. If you both agree, give the other player one of your ambassador tiles and place one of your population cubes on top of it. The cube may come from any of the 3 population tracks. The tile is placed on one of the free spaces on the other player's reputation track. The other player also gives you an ambassador tile and a population cube. Place them on an empty space on your reputation track. Ambassador tiles on your reputation track are worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. Note that your reputation track also holds your reputation tiles. If the board is full when taking an ambassador tile, you may discard reputation tiles, returning them to the reputation tile bag. You may not have more than 1 ambassador tile from each player. You may rearrange tiles in your reputation track at any time, but you may not discard ambassador tiles. Note that the Terrans have 1 space on track that may only hold an ambassador tile. Breaking diplomatic relations. Your diplomatic relations stay in effect until the end of the game, unless you attack one of the players you have diplomatic relations with, or if they attack you. Moving your ships to a hex where the other player has a disc or a ship is also considered an attack. Both players then return the ambassador tiles and cubes to their owner. The cube goes back to the population track, chosen freely by the owner. Whenever you attack a player and thus break the diplomatic relations, you receive the traitor card from its previous holder. The player holding the traitor card may not form new diplomatic relations as long as he has a card. Whoever holds the traitor card at the end of the game receives a -2 VP penalty. Research action lets your civilization develop new technologies. By taking the research action, you may choose one available technology tile from the supply board, pay its science cost, move the storage marker backwards on the storage track, and put the tile on your player board on the track of this category, military, grid, or nano. For each technology of that category you already have, you get a discount shown in the leftmost explored space on the technology track. However, note that for each technology there's a minimum cost you have to pay regardless of the discount you have. There are three special types of technologies. Ship part gives the ability to upgrade that ship part. Build gives the ability to build this ship or structure. Instant gives a one-time effect when it is researched. There's an example. You may not choose a technology that you already have. Technologies are kept on your technology tracks until the end of the game. They may not be discarded. Starting technologies. Terrans and some alien species have starting technologies pre-printed on their technology tracks. These are regarded in every way, just like the technology tiles acquired through the research station action. They may not be covered with other technology tiles. Upgrade. Upgrade action lets your civilization modify their ships. When choosing the upgrade action, you may modify your ship's blueprints by placing new ship parts there. Each of your ships functions according to its blueprint described on your player board. If you upgrade the ship's blueprint with a new ship parts, all ships already built are considered to be instantly upgraded. With the upgrade action, return as many ship part tiles to supply board as you want. Then take up to 2 tiles from the supply board and place them on any of the squares on your ship blueprints. When placing the tiles, you may place the tiles on top of any of the printed starting ship parts on your ship blueprints, but not on top of other ship part tiles. Following restrictions apply. Most ship parts, marked with a technology symbol, require that you have researched corresponding technology before they can be taken. The total energy consumption of the ship's parts may not be higher than its total energy production, and interceptors, cruisers, and dreadnoughts must have a drive. Star bases are not allowed to have a drive. Taking and returning ship parts costs nothing. All values from the ship parts are cumulative. For example, if ship has 2 fusion drives, they'll give it a movement value of 4, initiative 4, and energy consumption 4. Cannons plus missiles. For each color scored in your ship, roll the corresponding color die. The damage a hit inflicts is represented by the star symbol. Each star is 1 point of damage. Computers. Make hitting easier by adding bonuses to your die roll. Your combined computer value is added to your die rolls to hit. Shields. Targeted combined shield value is subtracted from your die roll to hit. Hull. Each hull symbol absorbs 1 point of damage received. Drives. Each hex pictured increases your ship movement value by 1. Energy sources provide energy for other ship parts. Build. Build action lets your civilization build new ships and structures. Build up to 2 ships, interceptors, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and star bases, or structures, orbitals, and monoliths. Pay their materials cost. Move the storage marker backwards on the storage track, and place them in any of the hexes where you have an influence disk. The following restrictions apply. The amount of ships is limited to the miniatures and tiles you have. Each hex may only have 1 monolith and orbital. Building star bases, orbitals, and monoliths require that you have the corresponding technology. Then here's building costs: interceptor 3, cruiser 5, dreadnought 8, starbase 3, orbital 5, monolith 10. Move. Move action lets your civilization move its ships. The move action allows you to move your ships. By choosing the move action, you may do up to 3 ship movements. You may use the movements to move the same ship consecutively. With each move, the ships may move as many hexes as its movement value allows. Movement value depends on its drives. Each hex pictured increases the ship's movement value by 1. In the case of multiple drives, the drive value is cumulative. Star bases are not allowed to have drives and therefore cannot move. Note the restriction on movement. The ships may only move through a hex edge that has a wormhole on both sides. Wormhole generator. If you have a wormhole generator, you may move your ships to a hex edge that has a wormhole on just one side. You may only move to explore hexes, not to empty space. If your ships move into a hex or out of a hex containing other players or ancient ships, at least 1 ship per opposing ship must stay. the ship is said to be pinned and engaged in combat in the combat phase. The ships exceeding the number of opponents may move. If you later on move or build more ships to the hex, you may change which ships are pinned. The original ships may move as long as one ship per each opposing ship stays pinned. The Galactic Center Defense System, GCDS, engages all ships in the central hex. The hex cannot be moved through before the GCDS is destroyed. And there's a movement example. Reaction. Reactions can be taken after you've passed. After passing, you may only take a reaction action when it is your turn in the player order. A reaction is essentially a weakened version of a move, build, or upgrade action. Reaction can be either upgrade. You're allowed to return as many ship part tiles to the supply board as you want, and then take one ship part. Build. You are allowed to build one ship or structure. Move. You are allowed to move only one ship once. A reaction is taken by placing an influence disk on the reaction track on your summary card. The nanorobots technology does not give you an extra build when taking a reaction. Here's an example where you'd put a influence disk on the card. Combat phase. In the combat phase, battles are resolved. The battle will take place if a hex is occupied by more than one party. The party being either a player, the ancients, or the GCDS. If there's a battle in more than one hex, the battles are resolved in descending numerical order of hexes. The center hex has the lowest number and will thus always be resolved last. If a hex contains more than two parties, battles are first resolved among the players. Ships with a sole surviving player, then engaging the ancients or the DCDS in battle. If the hex contains more than two player ships, battles between players are resolved two players at a time in reverse order entry into the hex. Therefore, the two players who last enter the hex will battle each other first, and the surviving player will then battle the player who entered before the two. The survivor of that battle will fight the next player in reverse order of entry and so forth. The last surviving player will battle the ancients if any. If the hex already has influence disk and is thus controlled by a player, the player is considered the defender and will fight last regardless of entry order, even if his ships actually move there last. Main concept: each ship type, interceptor, cruiser, etc. of each player are activated in initiative order. The ship type with the highest initiative goes first. All initiative ties are resolved in the defender's favor. The defender is always the player who has influence disk on the hex. In the case of a hex no disk, or a player with more than or a hex with more than two players, the defender is the player who moved there first. You simultaneously roll dice for all your ships of one type. Which dice are rolled is determined by the number of ships and the weapons they carry. For each die symbol on your ship's blueprint, you are allowed to roll one die of the corresponding color. The dice of different colors allow you to roll for all the weapons of your ships of the same type simultaneously. After rolling, you choose which enemy ship you assign each die to. Several dice may be assigned to the same target. Hitting. Rolling a 6 is always a hit, and rolling 1 is always a miss, regardless of any bonuses the ships may have. For other die results, add the value of your computers to the die roll and subtract the value of the ship's shield, the target shields. If you end up with a value equal to or greater than 6, the die is a hit. Damage. Different weapons do a different amount of damage when they hit. Ion cannon, yellow die, inflicts 1 damage. Plasma cannon and plasma missile, orange die, 2 damage. And antimatter cannon, red die, 4 damage. The amount of damage a weapon inflicts is presented by star symbols on the weapons tile. By default, 1 point of damage will destroy a ship. Each hull symbol on a ship's parts will absorb 1 point of damage. So if a ship has 2 improved hull parts, it will be destroyed by the 5th point of damage. Damage from the die may not be split to several targets. If a ship sustains damage but is not destroyed, mark the damage by placing damage cubes next to the ship. Ancient ships. Each ancient ship has 2 times ion cannons, electronic computer, Hull Initiative 2. Galactic Center Defense System, the GCS DS has 4 ion cannon, electronic computer, 7 times Hull Initiative 0. Find the ancients on the GCDS. One of the other players will die for the ancients in GCDS. If possible, dice are assigned so your ships are destroyed, the largest possible first. If no ships can be destroyed, the dice should be assigned to inflict as much damage to your ships as possible, largest possible first. Course of battle. Every battle begins with ships firing their missiles, if any, once, and continues with repeated engagement rounds until only one of the sides remains on the hex. Missiles. All ship types of each player equipped with missiles fire their missiles in initiative order. Roll 2 orange dice for each plasma missile ship part. Engagement round. Each ship type of each player is activated in initiative order. Each of your ship types may on its turn decide to either attack or retreat. The engagement round is repeated until one of the sides has been completely removed from the hex. Then the players return the destroyed ships to their owners. Retreat. When you decide to retreat your ships, move them to the edge of the neighboring hex to show that they are retreating. The hex to which you retreat must contain your influence disk and must not contain enemy ships. The normal wormhole movement rules must be followed. If you have wormhole generator technology, you may retreat through a hex edge as a wormhole on just one side. While the ships are on the edge of the hex, they're retreating and can still be shot at. The next time it is the retreating ship's turn, all of them must move to the neighboring hex. They have now fully retreated and can no longer be shot at. Stalemate. If a battle ends in a situation where it's not possible for either player to destroy the other, the attacker may retreat, following the requirements for the hex he is retreating to. If not, his ships are destroyed. Attacking population. After all battles have been resolved, the remaining ships may attack the population in the hex. Each ship may attack once with all its cannons. Missiles may not be used. Using the normal rules to hit, population is considered not to have any shields. Each point of damage destroys 1 population cube of your choosing. If you have the neutron bombs technology, you may destroy all population cubes from the hex without rolling any dice. Destroyed cubes are returned to the defeated player's graveyards of the corresponding color. The cubes are returned to their respective population tracks in cleanup phase. If a cube is destroyed from a gray wild square, the owner may choose which graveyard it goes to. Similarly, if a cube is returned from an orbital, you may return it to either the money or science track. Destroying population cubes does not grant reputation tiles. Orbitals and monoliths. Orbitals and monoliths may not be attacked, nor are they ever removed from the hex. The population on the orbital must be destroyed the same way as other population cubes. Reputation tiles, shown here. Battle Interceptor, Starbase, Cruiser Dreadnought, Ancient, GCDX, Max. Reputation tiles. After all battles in a hex have been resolved, each involved player draws reputation tiles from the bag as follows. 1 tile for taking part in 1 or more battles, 1 tile for each opposing interceptor, Starbase and Ancient ship destroyed, 2 tiles for each opposing cruiser destroyed, 3 tiles for each opposing dreadnought destroyed, 3 tiles for the Galactic Center Defense System destroyed. You may not draw more than 5 tiles. Choose one of the tiles and place them face down on your reputation track. Put the rest of the tiles back in the bag. If the track is full, you may return any of your reputation tiles, including the one you just drew or one from the track, in the bag. The tiles are drawn in order the players enter the hex, so that the player who first entered the hex will draw all his tiles first. Retreat penalty. If all your remaining ships retreat from the hex, you get no reputation tiles for taking part in the battle, but you still get tiles from destroyed enemy ships. Influencing hexes. At the end of the combat phase, if you have at least 1 ship in a hex that has no population, remove the previous controller's influence disk, returning it to his influence track. After this, you may place your own influence disk there. Also, if at the end of the combat phase your ship is in a hex without influence disk, you may place it just there. Repair damage. At the end of the combat phase, all damage cubes are removed from the ships. Player elimination. In the unlikely event that you lose all your influence discs and ships from the game board, you may no longer place influence discs on hexes. You may continue to produce resources each round. Note that you will have some production even if you do not have any population cubes on the board. And take research actions, which may still grant a few victory points. You may also give up the game. Upkeep phase. Colony ships first. You may activate one or more of your remaining colony ships and move population cubes to hexes. Contrary to the action phase, you may not move cubes to hexes containing enemy ships. Civilization upkeep. Collect your income and pay your civilization upkeep costs. This is done by comparing your positive money income, the highest exposed number in your money population track, with your influence cost for that turn, the highest exposed number in your influence track. Then adjust your money storage marker on the storage track by this net amount. Bankruptcy. The money storage marker may not move below 0. If that would happen, you must trade other resources, science materials for money, or give up control of some of your sectors by removing influence discs from the hex, returning them on your influence track until the influence cost is small enough. All population cubes from these hexes are moved to their respective population tracks on your player board. Cubes from gray, wild, squares may go on any track, and cubes from orbitals may go to either the money or science track. Note that if you have to return money cubes from the hex, they return to the money population track, reducing the income as well. In the unlikely event that you do not have enough influence discs to remove, your civilization has collapsed and your game ends here. Trade at any time. You may convert 2 units of one resource for 1 unit of any other. Note that only Terrans have a 2-to-1 trade rate. The rate depends on the species you play. Science materials production. After paying the civilization upkeep costs, collect the science materials production and move the storage markers on the storage track accordingly. Cleanup phase. Draw new technology tiles according to the number of players, shown here, from the bag and place them on their respective places on the supply board. Each player moves all the influence discs from his action track back to his influence track, and all cubes, if any, from the graveyards to the respective population tracks. If a population track is full, the cube must be moved to another track. Then each player flips all its colony ships face up, and the summary card in the action overview side up. Move the round marker 1 step forward. A new round begins with the action phase. Game end. The game ends after the 9th round. The player with the most victory points is the winner. Victory points are gained from reputation tiles, 1 to 4 VP per tile, ambassador tiles, 1 VP per tile, hexes with influence disc, 1 to 4 VP per hex, discovery tiles, 2 VP. That was kept. Monoliths, unknown hexes, 3 VP per monolith. Progress on technology tracks. 4 technology tiles on a track is 1 VP, 5, 2 VP, 6, 3, and 7, 5 VP. Trader card, minus 2 VP, and species bonuses. Case for tie, the total amount of resources, money, science, materials in each tied player's storage is a tiebreaker. And then 2-player game. 2-player game is strategically slightly different from multiplayer. Players should also be advised that descendants of the and Planta benefit from their species specific fast expansion capabilities and are thus stronger than other species in 2-player setting. It's recommended not to use these species in a 2-player game. Won't go into detail here, but here's a different alien species. The Eridani talks about their difference from Terrans. Hydron, Progress, Planta, descendants of Draco, Machinima, Orion, Hegemony. Then you have the Terran factions, which don't have special abilities, but it adds a lot of interest. Terran Directorate, Terran Union, Terran Federation, Terran Republic, Terran Conglomerate, Terran Alliance. And there's Ancients and the Galactic Center. Going through setup here. So I'm going to be doing 2 players. One will be a Terran, the Terran Union, and then I'll do the Orion Hegemony. And their special is, so they start with a cruiser instead of an interceptor. And with the move action, they may move up to 2 ships or 1 ship twice. The reputation track is shown. Different ship blueprints. Initial technologies are neutron bombs, Gauss shield. They do a trade rate of 4-1. And then the starting storage is 3, 3, and 5 is shown. And their starting sector number is 232. Then setup, put the ship part tiles and the round marker and turn 1 here on the supply board. Put the technology tiles in a bag and shuffle them. And for 2 players you draw 12 technology tiles. Then put the drawn technologies on the board. I drew a Gauss shield, a couple nanorobots, improved hull, positron computer, a couple phase shields, advanced mining, advanced economy, advanced labs, plasma missile, antimatter cannon. Then put the drawn technologies on the board. I drew a Gauss shield, a couple nanorobots, improved hull, positron computer, a couple phase shields, advanced mining, advanced economy, advanced labs, plasma missile, antimatter cannon. Then you put the reputation tiles in a bag and shuffle them. Put the discovery tiles on the supply board. Then you put the ancient ship tiles, orbital and monolith tiles, damage cubes, and the trader card on the supply board. And put the Galactic center tile in the middle of the board. Put a discovery tile there in the center. Then on top of the discovery tile you put the Galactic center defense system tile. Put the sector hex tiles in 3 piles. 1 for the inner, 2, and 3 for the outer. Starting player marker to the player that spent the less time on Terran. And the Orion Hegemony will have the starting marker. And then you take the starting hex that corresponds to the race you've chosen. So for the Orion Hegemony, that's defined hex 232. So they'll place it there. And for the Terran Union, their starting hex is 225. And put it here because they put it in the 2-player configuration. Then you take all the yellow and green chips and set them off to the side. They each get their 3 ambassador tiles, 3 colony ship tiles, summary card with the action phase up, then 1 influence disc on each circle of influence track. 1 population cube on each square of the 3 population tracks. You keep the furthest one empty. 1 storage marker of each color on the storage track. So for Terrans, you have money at 2, science materials at 3. For the Orion Hegemony, you have money at 3, science at 3, and materials at 5. Then you put the initial ships, population cubes, and influence disk. So for the Terrans, you get an interceptor, population cube on money, materials, and science. Can't put one yet on the advanced ones, of course. And then you have an influence disk there. For the Orion hegemony, you got a cruiser and a population disk for science and materials, and also an influence disk. And you take those population cubes from the appropriate area on their tracks. Then we'll get into play. So green goes first in the actions. Neither of them are going to be doing too much because they want to build up their resources. But he'll explore. Put it up here. He's moving into a inner system. So he takes a card from the one pile here. Sees what it is since it's an inner system. Doesn't have discover tiles, but it also doesn't have an ancient there, so he'll take that. And he's got to line up a wormhole with one in the system. He'll line it up this way. Because he wants these wormholes going off here too. And he'll decide to put an influence disk there. And he wants to put a population to get him for the money there. So we'll flip over a colony ship. Then take a population cube. Of the money. Put it there. Then yellow goes. They'll decide to explore as well. So we'll put a just there. And they'll look at these, look at it like a mid system. So they'll draw from the 2 pile. And there's a discovery there and also a material resource. That looks okay. And there's no ancient to guard it. So they'll go with that. I'll accept that. Put there. There's a discovery tile there, so they'll put a disc there. Get the discovery. The discovery is a +8 money, so he'll take that. Gets to move up his money from 2 to 10. So the discovery is also going to colonize that world, so he'll flip over one of his colony ships and then put a materials population on there. And then check in on the hegemony here and see if they want to do anything. They want to build up resources, so they're not going to do it. They'll pass. Then go back to the Terrans to see if they want to do another action or if they want to pass. And they got a little bit of money that time, so they actually want to do a build. They can build an interceptor for a cost of 3, so they'll do that. They move down their money to 7, then get an interceptor. And they'll put the interceptor in this system. Orion's already passed, and now yellow will pass. So that's the end of that action phase. Snow combat. They do upkeep phase. They won't do any more of their colony ships. So for green, they get 3 for their money, -1, so they get a net of 2 for their money, so they move up to 5. For yellow, they have 3 -1, so they get a net of 2 also. They move it up. Track their science and materials. For green, it's 3, so they advance that 3. That's their science, and then their materials are also advanced 3. For yellow, their science advanced 3. And their materials advances 4. Now we're in the cleanup phase. First of all, you draw new technology tiles and take them out from the bag. For 2 players, you take 4. So you got 4 technology tiles. Place them on the board. Got Tachyon Drive. Advanced Mining, so we got a couple of those now. Advanced Robotics. And another Advanced Robotics. Move your influence discs back from the action track. Flip the colony ships back face up. Then you move the summary card action overview side up. Advance the marker to the next turn, which is turn 2 now. Then we'll start the next turn. And green will go first since he was the first to pass last time. For his action, he eventually wants to upgrade his ships to an improved hull, but to do that, he has to have the improved hull technology, so he'll do research and he'll get an improved hull technology, and there's only one of those, so he has that. And as far as the cost, now he's got 2 technologies, so he gets a cost reduction of -1 on this, so he only has to pay 3. Normally it'd be 4 science, but he can knock down to 3, and that's the minimum cost. So he'll pay 3 science. And then yellow goes, the Terrans. Yellow's gonna explore. Actually they'll want to explore, so they'll explore up this way. They'll take a chance to go to an inner world. So they'll draw 1 from the inner world pile. Looks pretty good. There's no ancients there. Gotta line up the wormholes. And they won't be able to go this way, but they can go that way. They'll decide to put a influence disc there to claim that. And they'll use a colony ship to put a population there. So they'll flip that over on that science world. And in this one there's an artifact, which if they develop the artifact key technology, then they can unlock the benefits of that. So it's their turn. And then we'll go to green. Green will be doing upgrade. So you can take 2 part tiles and upgrade your ships. So we recently did improved hulls, so we'll be doing that. He'll be doing an improved hull on his cruiser. Doesn't have any blank spaces there, so if he were to put in a blank one, then he could also get the additive from the hull, but he'll be replacing his hull there with that. And then also he'll be upgrading the hull on his dreadnought when he gets to using that. Improved hulls don't have any additional energy consumption, so he's okay there. Then we'll go to yellow. The Terran's yellow will be doing another explorer. Grab a disc, grab a hex. Looks pretty good. There's no ancients there, so that's good. He's got to line up the wormhole. He'll put a Put this there, and then claim that. Put a colony ship to drop off a resource for materials. They'll do another ship to for materials, and I'll drop another one off to the science. It's the end of their turn. They're thinking about if they might want to start passing now because they're use quite a bit of resources. And then green, they'll be doing an explore, and they're going in one of the inner systems too. They'll be coming off here. Get this system. It's got an ancient on it. Line up the wormholes. Puts a discovery tile down. Put an ancient there. But costs an exploration. And you can't put an influence this there because it's gotta defeat that ancient. Yellow is passed, but they can still do a reaction. They can build one unit, they'll do that. They'll build another interceptor. They'll put it in this world. Interceptor costs 3. Take that off their track. Then goes back to green, the Orion hegemony. And now they'll pass. So due to that reaction move, they took another disc off the board and they put it over here in the reactions. And then we'll do the upkeep stage. First money. So they're at -7. And they only had 3 incomes, so they're -4 total. So you knock their money down to 5 here. Materials, they get 6 science. So they move that up to 11. 6 materials. Then you take the disc back off. This is the cleanup stage now. Flip the card over. Flip the colony ships over. Then similarly doing the upkeep and cleanup stage for Orion. They're at -3 on income, and then +3, so the net is 0, so their money stays the same. Materials, they're at +3 materials, they'll move that up. They're at +3 science, they move that up. Take move the disc back. Flip over the ships. Then move on to the next turn, turn 3. This time yellow goes first since they were the first to pass last time. They gotta watch their money a little bit because they've populated a few worlds and
knock down their resources. They only have 5 in their treasury. But they'll be doing an explore. They're going to kind of a mid-range world here, so they'll draw from the 2 pile. Nothing too interesting. They'll be lining up the wormhole. There's a discovery there though, so they will put a disc there to get that discovery. It's +6 materials, which is nice, so they'll get that. To 15. And then green. They're actually doing okay money-wise, so they can do some work. They're going to do an explore. Go into a mid-range world here, so we'll see what they get. So they can get some income there, so they'll do that. Claim that. Forgot to flip these over last time, but all these colony ships are available at the beginning of this turn. They'll put a population on this money world. That's good. So we'll flip that colony ship over. Take a population disk. Then yellow. So we're going to do a move, and each of these interceptors can move. They have a drive of 3, so they can go 3 wormholes. They want to, I think green might be coming through here. So they're going to mass up there a little bit. So 1, 2. They'll keep 2 interceptors up there. And that's all they'll do in their move, but they have to use a resource for that. So their turn, and then we go to green. So green, he sees what's going on here, and he wants to build a ship. He wants to build another cruiser. So he'll do a build. Costs 5 material. So knocks it down there. And he gets a cruiser from right here. Yellow's going to pass now. Actually, they're a little bit overexpanded, but green. And they're going to explore. Again, they're in a mid-world here. See what they have. Nothing too exciting. They do expend a resource to move to explore though. Yellow passed. Green's gonna move. Yeah, I apologize. He's got a cruiser here, not a dreadnought. So he'll move. They can move up to 2, but he'll move here, and then he'll move up here as well. That's all he'll do. Then he'll pass, and that'll be the end of that turn. Then the upkeep phase. So for yellow, they have -7, but they're bringing in 3, so they're at a -4. They only have 5 in their treasury, so they're down to 1. They're not in real good shape there. As far as their science goes up 6 more, so kind of track with singles and 10s there. Similarly with materials, at 15 you get 6 more, so he's up to 21. Tracking the 10s and 1s, he's up to 21. Then green, he's got -5 income, 4 coming in, so a net of -1. Moves that down. 3 materials, so he moves that up.
3 science, moves that up. Then the cleanup phase, move these back. Then 20 colony ships, move these back. Flip over the colony ship. Have the pass markers go back to action. Advance to turn. Next turn. I'll show a little bit of this turn. So he's going to move. He can move 3. He's got 3 interceptors there. It's end of his turn. And then green will go, and he'll do a move as well. He'll move his 2 cruisers in here. There's going to be battle. And then next I'll just have them both pass, and then we'll get to the combat phase. And combat, we'll be doing combat in this hex with green and yellow. Here's the layout of the the cruiser for green and the interceptor for yellow. By default, since yellow has the influence desk here, this means that they're the defending players because they're defending their system. So green goes first. And if there are missiles, they do a missile phase first, but neither of them have missiles, so they'll do their ion cannons. And they have 2 ion cannons, one on each of the cruisers. Roll the dice. A 6 automatically hits. And since the cruiser doesn't have any, to absorb damage, they're gone. Then the 3, you take the benefit of your computer, which is +1, so 3 + 1, and then you deduct the shield. So 3 + 1 minus the 1, they're back to 3, so they don't hit. Then yellow goes. They have 2 ships remaining. They each have an ion cannon. I think that's going to work. They got a 3, and they don't have a computer to give them a bonus. And then it's a -1 for the Gauss shield that they have, so neither of them hit. Green goes. Six again, kind of lucky, but it's part of the game. 6 automatically hits. And then a 5. So he's got 5 + 1 for his computer, so he's 6. But then it's -1 for the shield. So he's back down to 5. Yellow goes. They get a 6. So the cruiser, the interceptor does hit, but the cruiser's got a improved hull that can take 2 damage. So he's absorbed 1 damage, which I'll indicate. Now, so in this example, it just works out that since green has a +1 computer, but then yellow has a -1 shield, the net effect of that is a 0 bonus, so he does still need a 6 to hit him. But since he doesn't have a hull, a 6 would take him out. So they take him out. And since there's no more yellow ships, they lose their influence disk. Goes back, and they can put one here to claim it, and then they can remove the damage. And then for the battle, you draw reputation tiles. Yellow gets to draw one just for the battle. They didn't destroy any ships, so you draw them out of the bag. So 3. And then Orion Green gets to draw one for the battle and one each for the each interceptor, so a total of 3. Takes 3. Then takes the last one. He'll take the 4. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of sense of how it plays. So that's Eclipse, New Dawn for the Galaxy from 2011 from Lautapelit.fi games. It's quite a good game. It's a Space 4X game. Nice components, you got strategy. I like how they do, you know, the production and the different resources. You know, you have to manage your populations, technology development, and for, you know, more players, there's also diplomacy, and you got ancient relics in there you got to think about. Got to balance if you're going to colonize or develop or equip your ships. There's some randomness, but actually I like some randomness because, I mean, most things have a bit of randomness in battles, etc. So I think it makes sense to have a bit of randomness, but it's not overly random. There's a lot of, you know, direct decisions to make, so I think it's a real good balance between the two. I don't give too many 10s up. I think this deserves one. It's got a lot going for it, and it's definitely going to be a go-to game I do again. Thanks for your time.